You ever hear of Five Nights at Freddy's? Yeah, it's a small indie game franchise released in August of 2014. Nowadays, it has over 8 million fucking units sold, with around 8 installments, a VR and AR spin-off, a AAA, if you can call that AAA, game, a movie in production, hell, I think, 11 novels, and more merchandise than ever necessary. Yeah, so Five Nights at Freddy's is a big franchise at this point, with a very dedicated community. So much to where it's gotten to the point where it's almost embarrassing to say you enjoy the games as a whole, which is a shame, because when you step away from all the dedication, you start to appreciate the finer works of the games and what they've become. The game was a massive success, and then Scott pumped out a sequel only 3 months after, with a third installment 4 months after that, and then a fourth one 4 months after that. And each game had its own legs to stand on and functioned perfectly fine and was fairly different from the other one, despite at the surface they kind of looked similar. I'm not rereading that. It was honestly really fucking impressive. And what was even more impressive was Scott Cawthon's way to weave an intricate and horrifying narrative within the subtext of the games. Yeah, that's right. You cannot mention FNAF without its ridiculously convoluted, consistently retconned storyline. I think it's honestly part of the draw at this point, and most people would probably agree. The fact that it's a mystery is woven so deep and finding every minuscule detail from the source code of his website to the eye color of certain characters just kind of goes to show that no stone should be left unturned when it comes to trying to figure out the story hidden in each of these games. And honestly, for a while, it was really fun to see how it all fit together, albeit the pieces were a bit awkward. Because naturally, there's gonna be a few things that don't fit well, because there's no way that one fucking guy can come up with this entire narrative spanning 8 games and not even knowing if the first one would reach 100 people. But I feel like it's going on 8 years now. We should have at least a concrete idea of what exactly the story is we're trying to piece together.
The keyword is should.
Because even now to this day, 8 years later, there still doesn't seem to be one way to slice it. There's just way too much going on, and honestly with the series the way it's headed lately with the VR game and Security Breach, it's really just gone too far to even bother trying anymore. But I mean, no one came here to listen to me moan and fucking complain, so it's about time I actually got to the video's namesake. Before we get into it, I'm just gonna get a few disclaimers out of the way. First off, like I said, there's no one way to slice the story, so simply I'm just going off what I know and what feels and sounds right, so if you see any issues, fucking bitch about it somewhere else on a subreddit. I don't care enough. And second, I'm not gonna say where these plot points come from in-game. This game relies heavily on small Easter eggs and secret endings and small vague clues to convey points of the story. And if I explain where every piece of information lies and came from, this video will be twice as long as it already is. So I'm just gonna skip where it comes from in-game altogether, and you'll just have to take my word for it. And next, I'm not gonna bother touching on any of the books. Those fucking things throw too much bullshit into the mix about small discs that play high-frequency noises that make you hallucinate nightmares and massive fucking trash monsters. I don't care, they're not canon, you can't change my mind. And lastly, I'm going to be telling the stories from Five Nights at Freddy's 1 until Ultimate Custom Night. To me, that's where I feel like the game series mainly ends, and then in VR and Security Breach, they just cross the line of absurdity, and they're telling a completely different story than the ones in the first games, and I don't feel like they're solid enough to where I can really need to give a shit yet. I don't like it. Cool, thanks for sticking with me with that absurdly long intro. Now get yourselves comfy, fellas, put your hands in your pants and just let it rest on your cock and balls. Don't be ashamed of it, it's normal, you don't gotta feel weird. I'm giving you permission, man, it's how you unwind. Come on, put your hand on your nuts, come on, just give them a little grope. I know it's comfortable, it's nothing sexual, it's just what you do. Now grab yourself a big delicious bowl of oatmeal and strap in, because this is the full lore of Five Nights at Freddy's. Oh fuck, I wish I were making this video ironically. Every story needs a beginning, and ours begins in the late 70s to early 80s with 2 men named William Afton and Henry Emily. These 2 bastards are a couple of engineers in robotics ready and horny to put themselves on the map. Together they team up and put their talents to use when they finally open up Fredbear's Family Diner, a small pizzeria restaurant featuring some Chuck E. Cheese-esque animatronic robots of their own design. And since their budget was a little sparse just by starting out, the duo built just 3 animatronics, 2 of which being a yellow rabbit named Bonnie and a yellow bear with a hat named Fredbear. Both of these funny fellows were designed by Henry, alongside a marionette design looking robot. Mainly for security purposes, it tracks wristbands that children wears, kind of high-tech shit for the 70s, but anyways, this puppet design was made by William. Yeah, quite the engineering visionaries, these 2. In fact, one of their crazy wacky inventions nets them some saved cheese, along with some horrible maiming of employees, but tomato. Henry included what's called a spring lock mechanism, patent pending, in order to cut the costs of purchasing mascot suits and building animatronics as well. Just simply crank back the mechanisms from the robots and slip your little ass inside. But a young, naive, cost-cutting Henry decided to overlook the one tiny, minuscule, life-threatening flaw in this design, which is, if these spring lock mechanisms get even the slightest bit damp, they will clamp back into suit mode. Seize up all the spring locks in a near instant. So if you're an employee at Fredbear's and happen to be wanting inside one of these suits, you'd best not hope a kid spills any orange crush on you, cause crush might come on with a whole new meaning.
Oh, why would you do that? Why would you ever do that? There was a lid, man! There was a lid!
I didn't write that part in, I thought of it just now. It's pretty damn funny, you know what I'm saying? But that's fine, says Henry, stroking his girthy member. Just be careful in there. $1 saved is $1 earned. Because in these early stages, saving a buck made Henry's cock hard. You wanna know what made William's member hard? Yeah, immortality. William Afton is a interesting critter. He's a father of 3, albeit a very shitty father, bordering abusive, and gets himself kicked out of a couple bars because of his, well, personality. As an aside, I know this bar could very well be a different place entirely, but I decided that's too much bullshit to work around and it's just gonna be a bar. Stay fucking mad. And aside from his occupation of co-owning Fredbear's Diner with Henry, he dabbles in some extensive research of living forever and ways of being able to live forever, you know? The average stuff a father of 3 would consider, you know? A little businessman, he wants to live forever. Who the hell doesn't, dude? And upon his research for immortality, William stumbles across something still in its experimental phases, a little substance called remnant. Please bear with me while I describe remnant. Remnant is a supposed substance that is only emitted from the human soul through pure agony. For example, if a human were to die by excruciating means, their soul mixed with their agony would discharge remnant. Remnant is a near electrical substance. And what conducts electricity the best, folks? Say it with me now, come on. Metal and circuitry. Yeah, that's right. William Afton sees this as an opportunity as his occupation currently deals with, you guessed it, metal and circuitry, which begs the question if Afton only started making robots for this purpose or not. So William sees this and he thinks, there is no way this bullshit is actually real. There is no way you can live forever through metal. Nope, it is just preposterous. It does not work. Nope, not gonna happen. Not in this universe. Never. No, nuh-uh. I gotta test this shit out. So on one fateful, rainy night, Fredbear's Diner is hosting a baller-ass party. There is Tostitos, there is brown milk, and there is pizza galore. Every kid is having a great fucking time. Every kid except for Charlotte Emily, Henry's daughter. She's left outside of the pizzeria alone in the rain, watching all the kids have a good time inside. And behind her slowly creeps up a purple car, and out steps William Afton. Charlotte looks up and sees her daddy's business partner and thinks that maybe Uncle William will unlock the door and let her in out of the rain and join the party. But William has other plans for Charlotte. He takes notice of the green bracelet on her arm, the same one that he set for her to wear after he programmed his marionette security puppet to assign its priority to that same bracelet. And, per his research, stabs Charlotte, and assures the most agonizing death for the purpose of his studies. Before he's seen in the rain, he unlocks the door and drives off after discarding her body behind the pizzeria, knowing that his security puppet would soon be there to find Charlotte. And the puppet does exactly as it's programmed. And the rain makes a short circuit as it collapses alongside Charlotte, whose soul, in agony, infuses with the puppet's circuitry, and remnant replaces its electricity. Without even being there to witness it, William's Afton experiment worked. And Charlotte, now housed inside of Afton's puppet, confused as to who she even is anymore, returns to Fredbear's, where she spends many, many years inside of, trapped and isolated in her new body. So days pass as Henry discovers his daughter, dead behind his own establishment, and he reacts as any sane fucking human being ever would, and he grieves. So much to the point where he decides to fully sell out the growing success of the Fredbear's Family Diner name over to a new owner, Fazbear Entertainment. Fazbear Entertainment graciously takes the Fredbear location as well as open a few new ones on top of it. Most namely is Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, with some new characters in tow, including Foxy the Pirate Fox, Bonnie the Blue Rabbit, and none other than Freddy Fazbear. These new robots are likely not made by either William nor Henry, but instead are just built by a separate entity altogether. They also open a third location, titled the Mediocre Melodies, using some of Henry's scrap designs, including Horville? Yeah, that's rude. Including Snorville the Elephant, Mr. Shitpo, some gay-ass frog, a banjo-playing pig, some loser-ass fucking bear, and a chicken with a bib named Chica. This location was incredibly fucking lame and no one liked it, so they closed it down within minutes. They threw out all the shitty robots except for Chica. They liked her for some reason. And they bring Chica along with Freddy and the crew because she had titties, I guess. So Fazbear Entertainment is going all out, balls to the wall with this new IP. They're releasing toy figures, okay? They're releasing plushies, masks, Funko Pops, onesies, trading cards, inflatable Halloween costumes, bathroom mats, mugs, and they even greenlit Fredbear's original co-owner, William Afton, to open his own animatronic pizzeria under their umbrella, entitled Circus Baby's Pizza World. Each robot designed and built by William himself, keeping the same humanoid clown motif of his original puppet, which Charlotte now claims. Oh hell yeah, my Apple Watch is done charging. Hell yeah, my Apple Watch done charging. Fellas, my Apple Watch is done charging. This is great. Hell yeah, man. My Apple Watch done charging. Oh, hell yeah, my Apple Watch is done charging. Oh, hell yeah. Oh, hell yeah, my Apple Watch done. Little did Fazbear Entertainment realize what giving the green light to this location would cause, and allowing a child-murdering, immortality-researching fucking psychopath to build his own robots to continue his maniacal experiments might have its consequences. And of course, as you guessed it, Afton uses circus babies as a front for his true intentions of testing and experimenting with Remnant. And as evidenced by the blueprints of the robots he built, they were all designed to lure children towards them and then capture them for experimentation within the robots themselves. This dude's fucked. One thing Afton's silly ass forgot to realize is that when you make robots specifically designed to entice children only to have them be bored, while also having 3 kids of your own, you're in for a bad time, homie. Since Afton is a fucking idiot and forgot his kids aren't immune to wanting to eat ice cream and play with balloons, he has a bad time, homie. His young daughter, Elizabeth, really wants to play with Baby, one of the robots that Afton made. And despite her dad being like, hey, don't go near her, she's a Nazi. Hey, she's a Nazi. Kids hate Nazis. Don't play with her. So Elizabeth goose steps her way over to Baby, enticed with ice cream, and gets fucking gored. So this kills Elizabeth instantly, and her body is trapped inside of Baby. And you guessed it, just like Charlotte and the puppet, Elizabeth's agonized soul remnants its way into Baby's circuitry, and now she possesses her. This all happens the first day Circus Baby's Pizza World was open, and with no one else around to see it besides William's youngest son, Evan, Afton immediately shuts down the pizzeria the first day it opens and moves all of the Vormatronics down to the bunker he has beneath his home for such an occasion, I guess. That bunker was made with the idea of it being used for remnant testing, including a massive metal scoop made to remove animatronic endoskeletons from their housing, as well as inject remnant inside simultaneously. So Circus Baby, now possessed by his youngest daughter, Elizabeth, alongside all the other twisted Vor animatronics, are left down there for Afton to test on. Afton puts security cameras in his home to make sure neither one of his remaining children ever leave unattended, let alone to any location with his animatronics of his design or not. After losing Elizabeth, Afton is fully paranoid of having another kid lost to the sauce. Not so fun when the shoe's on the other foot, huh? Around this time, upon losing their daughter, Afton's wife dumps his ass because all he would do is build robots, research immortality, lose their kids by mysterious means that he wouldn't tell her, eat hot chip, and lie. So Afton, heartbroken as much as any child-murdering, daughter-killing prick can be, builds a glorified real doll inspired by his wife's tits and ass and named it Ballora. This divorce is kind of implied in the soap opera scene at the end of each night in Sister Location. Notice how the vampire is in purple, and the show is called The Immortal in The Restless, because Afton wants to be immortal. Now he keeps repeating the phrase, "The baby isn't mine," which might be based on how Elizabeth is killed by Baby. I don't know. That part is baseless speculation on my behalf. I just thought I'd throw that in. Now, remember how I said that only Evan saw Elizabeth get consumed? Well, as you can expect, a child watching his sister get clawed by a robot wouldn't really sit well with him. Especially for dad who's like, son, whatever you do, don't fucking tell anybody about this, okay? I know, it's fucked up, but daddy will figure it out, okay? Just don't tell anyone, don't tell your mom, don't tell your brother, don't tell anyone at school. I just have to go downstairs, I just have to electrocute her or something. I don't know, just don't tell anyone. So for months and months, Evan has nightmares and overall bad juju from these animatronics that his dad makes, which fucking finally leads us to what the fuck happens in Five Nights at Freddy's 4. This entire time, we've only touched on things that happened before any of the games we play, and is only implied through secrets and endless retcons. The series fucking blows. So, Evan is horrified of these robots and dreams of them with mouths in their stomachs, as that is what killed his sister. But Evan's older brother Michael doesn't know what Evan's deal is. He just knows that his sister died and Evan's being a little bitch about it. So Michael does what any older brother would and torment and scare the shit out of Evan with a Foxy mask. But it doesn't end there for the poor kid, no, not even close. Because it's almost Evan's birthday! And where else would you have a birthday party when your dad works closely with a restaurant not far from your home that just so happens to specialize in birthdays that you also have horrible nightmares of because your sister died by their hand? Evan has his birthday party at Fredbear's Family Diner, which at this point is still open. And he's not really having fun, because today Michael and his friends take his bullying a little bit too far, and they grab Evan's head and put him inside of Fredbear's mouth. I guess William wasn't doing a very good job of watching over his kids getting too close to the animatronics. Remember how I said Fredbear is one of those cool animatronics that doubled as a suit and a robot, and how dampness will cause him to clamp the fuck shut? Did I mention how Evan cries like a little bitch? Because if I didn't, this next part will not make any sense. Yeah, Fredbear's mouth clamps down on Evan's head, crushing his fucking skull, bro. You had to be there. It was fucking awesome. Which will forever be known as the Bite of 83. And the rest of Five Nights at Freddy's 4 takes place in a nightmarescape, playing as Evan as he dies in his hospital bed, hallucinating the monsters he has nightmares of, and hallucinating him being inside of his room. The game ends with Evan flatlining, with a mysterious voice saying, "I will put you back together." Put a pin in that line, it'll be important later. And as we're left with a mysterious locked box, Five Nights at Freddy's 4 and Evan Afton both meet their end. So soon after Evan's death, Fazbear Entertainment shuts down Fredbear's Family Diner after Charlotte's death behind the place, as well as Evan's death inside the place. They're like, this sucks, dude. Alongside any sad sap employees who got those spring locks lubed up, I can only imagine that would also add to the desire to close. Meaning old Willie Afton, in the span of a few months, lost 2 of his kids alongside 2 pizzeria locations. So Fazbear Entertainment takes the old Springlock Bonnie and Fredbear suits and deems them to be unsafe, just before they were going to implement the Springlock idea into the animatronics at the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location. So they take them alongside the puppet with Charlotte inside and leaves them in the back room of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, which until this point has been running very smoothly with their new characters parallel to all of this happening, and it's the last remaining location to be open at this point in time. That is until old Willie A comes in to fuck it all up. So William strolls in one day, and the manager of Freddy's, recognizing one of the original creators who just lost 2 kids, he allows William to come in to perform any maintenance for the new robots that they have. However, this maintenance was ham-fisted bullshit, and was just a cheeky reprogram to make sure none of the new robots can recognize that back room where the Springlock suits are kept. Little did they all know that William was devising a horrific plan that would alter the course of his life forever. After he performs the scheduled maintenance, William one day sneaks into the back room and slips himself in that decommissioned Springlock Bonnie suit and, in a wave of grief of his children, goes out on a 5-kid murder spree dressed as this retired mascot. Intentionally avoiding the Fredbear suit, which, killed his son. Didn't really want to go in that one. Wouldn't really like that. He has standards. He was killing 5 kids, but he has standards. So, one by one, William lures 5 children into the back room. First was a curly blonde-haired girl named Susie, sad because of the loss of her dog. William, dressed as Springlock Bonnie, assures her that her dog is still alive and well, and brought her to the back to show her, killed her, and forced her body inside of Chica the chicken in the back room as well. Despite all that despicable things that he just did, William wasn't a liar. Her dog is still alive by technicality. In his experimentation, William used Susie's dog to test Remnant on his own terms, choosing which robot to inject it inside of with his scooper. He used his own Funtime Foxy animatronic from his bunker to inject Remnant inside of, creating what is now known as Mangle. Then he whipped up a new Funtime Foxy in its place for more potential vor, I guess. After Susie's inside of Chica, he takes the lives of Fritz, putting him inside of Foxy, Jeremy inside of Bonnie, Gabriel inside of Freddy Fazbear, and Cassidy, shoving her inside of the decommissioned Fredbear suit that killed his son. It's hard to say whether he did this as an experiment for Remnant, or it was just a lash of grief. Either way, 5 lives are lost in this otherwise clean-slated Fazbear Entertainment location. So you still got a pin in that thing that I said earlier about the mysterious voice that says, "I will put you back together" at the end of Five Nights 4? Well, it's hard to say exactly who that voice came from, but one running contender is the voice belonged to the puppet, Henry's daughter Charlotte. And after all this time trapped inside of the puppet, she finally knows how to allow others to live eternally along with her. She deemed to do the same for Evan, and now that she was sitting in the back room, forced to watch all these grisly attacks carried out by William, unable to stop him in the act in fear of him doing more damage. She is a kid, and that is her aggressor. I don't blame her for not, So Charlotte decides to share the gift of life inside of their new bodies alongside the other victims of William, using their remnant to possess their respective animatronics. All of the dead children are given new life inside of their bodies and are free to move around as they once could. Everyone besides Cassidy, who was stuffed inside of Fredbear. Or at this point, I guess, Golden Freddy. They're kind of interchangeable at this point. And since Golden Freddy, Fredbear, is a decommissioned Springlock suit, he can't get up and walk around like the others can. He just has different mechanisms, and they might have even taken the Springlocks out. It kind of gives Cassidy the short end of the stick, and not only that, but she's also now officially a roommate. Since this same animatronic that her corpse is inside of is also the one that killed Evan Afton, Charlotte unknowingly gave life to Evan's remnant left inside of Fredbear when he was bit. So not only is Cassidy immobile, she's sharing the same space as her murderer's son. Between the two of them, Cassidy's soul is far stronger since her body is inside of Golden Freddy and Evan's not, but despite that silver lining, Cassidy is not happy with this situation that she's put in. Put a pin in this, it'll be important later. Over time, these animatronics with new life, bellies full of dead kids sloshing their big yummies around, the corpses kind of just start rotting inside of the robots, making a delectable smell of which only a higher profile can wish to appreciate. So this location eventually also gets shut down due to health violations, as well as the case of 5 missing children, which didn't really add that much PR to it, and Afton was never caught due to him hiding his evidence inside of the robots and no one thinking for 3 seconds to fucking look inside. So after this very first Freddy Fazbear's location gets shut down, William Afton then polishes up his underground basement with his circus baby animatronics for a rental service for birthday parties or whatever occasion would require or a feminine-shaped robot that would show up. I mean, just whatever. He most likely opened this as a rental service because with no Freddy's locations open to act as his murder den, he had no other feasible way to obtain more potential test subjects for Remnant, and could only use the animatronics he has at his disposal. And since he didn't really have enough resources to reopen Circus Baby's Pizza World as a whole establishment, he just rents them out and sees what comes out of it. It's not really confirmed whether or not this method was successful or not in terms of vor subjects, but I can think of one or two things that might have concluded if someone were to, you know, rent out Ballora or Baby. Just Ballora. Baby has a child inside of it. Cut that part out, it's just Ballora. Again, none of this shit is seen in any of the games, and so far we've only covered FNAF 4. That is until now with the new, improved, fantastical, fresh, curvaceous, bombastic, sensually euphoric reopening of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. 4 years after the first Freddy's location getting shut down for stinking up the place. So at long fucking last, we play in a pizzeria in this exhausting story in Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Yes, it goes from Five Nights at Freddy's 4 to Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Kind of. We'll touch on that later. This new location has brand new toy animatronics, implied to have been built by Henry Emily upon hearing some of the shady goings-on within Freddy's Mosque. These toy robots have advanced facial recognition software installed to avoid any more issues regarding missing children. So Fazbear Entertainment decided to still hold on to the old Springlock suits, as well as the old smelly suits from the first location, quote, for spare parts, even though that would mean they would open the suits and see rotting corpses inside, but whatever. It just makes sense, man. They also bring back the puppet, since it's not a Springlock and doesn't smell like rotting ass. You know, since Charlotte was never really stuffed inside of the puppet, but rather used Remnant to possess the puppet within close proximity. But now it's not a security puppet, and it's put in the prize corner as a prize puppet, I guess. I don't know why that's important. Oh, and they also bring Mangle over too, with the dog's Remnant inside, because, I don't know, it was just kind of fucking sitting there. They didn't really know any better, they just brought it over. Now, 4 years is a long time. It might even be long enough to say, I don't know, turn your life around, no longer kill kids at multiples of 10, dress as a robot your old business partner made to try and experiment with immortality. Yeah, no, 4 years is not long enough for that, apparently. Yep, old Willie is back to his tricks, and once he smells a new Freddy's location has opened up, he decides to get back on the old horse. But first, he's gonna need that spring Bonnie suit back. And for that, he's gonna need a disguise. So, one day, William dresses as a daytime security guard, as 4 years have passed and management likely won't recognize him enough to let him in and fucking toy with the robots anymore. And using this disguise as a daytime security guard, he enters the back room again and uses the same Bonnie suit to kill 5 more kids in the walls of Freddy's church. You know, except this time, he's not stuffing them into suits, no. Whether that be a test to see how strong Remnant is, or because he just gets his rocks off to killing kids, I really don't know.
Look, Pim. I know it's our job to help this guy and everything, but I think this guy's a lost cause. He's obviously made up his mind. Why don't we just cut our losses and get out of here?
So, after this fiasco, the new toy animatronics suddenly act different. They hang out and play a game of pickup with the kids just fine, but once they see an adult, they just stare blankly at them. I mean, if it were up to me, I'd say that maybe Charlotte caught wind of more life being stolen across the hall and went over for round 2 of Given Life to undo Afton's shit, only this time putting them into Daddy's robots? I don't know, it's up in the air. So the daytime guard who was meant to be there, not Afton, but rather Jeremy Fitzgerald, kinda got the shitty end of Afton's little stunt, and all the toy animatronics start to go after him, since he's the daytime security guard now, and that's who they resonate with, you know, the fact that they were fucking killed, leading one of the toy robots to bite the head of Jeremy in what will be known as the bite of 87, removing his frontal lobe. But he survives, but he can't eat mashed potatoes by himself anymore. So this happens in broad daylight, people see this happen, it's horrible, and the new Freddy Fazbear's location gets shut down as well after all of its build-up, making the total loss of child life up to 13 at this point, and closed locations up to 5 within 2 games. Do you see why this is a hard fucking topic? Despite all of this mess, probably lawsuits and money-sucking locations, Fazbear Entertainment really saw potential in this franchise, and they lubed up their fat stinging cocks one more time to plow into the proverbial corporate world, and years later opened another Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. This time, they're money short, so they moved back to the first Freddy's location, cleaned it up a little bit, and they reused the same animatronics from that location as well. The ones they deemed too smelly and closed up shop. Yeah, well, I guess nothing stinks worse than the cash, and they pulled them out of retirement and are using them again, giving this old pizzeria one last college try, leaving all of the toy animatronics back at the old location, presumably empty and forgotten. But, you know, when you close up to 5 other locations because of either kids dying or going missing or people getting chopped on the noggin, no one's showing up to your place other than white people looking for a scare, dude. And with no one to make money off of, Fazbear Entertainment closed this place down as well, making this the only location William Afton didn't fuck up, or at least kill any kids inside of. Well, kind of. So, a few years go by, and Fazbear Entertainment decides they don't fucking care anymore. This is a dying venture. They leave all the robots in the same location to rot for all they give a fuck. And this place gets run down and nappy as hell. William Afton is still working away on Remnant. Fuck knows what else he's got going on to ensure his research is a success. And even though he's been proven time and time again his theories are correct, he still never sees it for himself because he fucks off and the location to kill the kids in just gets shut down. So, knowing there might be potential experiments left in the last known Fazbear location, as well as having the FNAF 2 location have the toy robots and the others somehow vanish, more on that later, Willie A brings his old trusty spring Bonnie suit that he likely stole from the FNAF 2 location and brings it along with him to that faded back room where each of the animatronics get torn apart one by William, to likely either try to get rid of them from bothering him or to have their remnant tested on. Little did Afton's stupid ass know that tearing apart these robots would lead to their spirits being released and on the hunt for him, each of them free from their housing and chasing Afton down in the back room, which they can now see outside of their suit. William, in an ill-thought defense mechanism, clambers back inside a spring Bonnie suit and then fucking stands there for no reason other than he's a dumbass. So much of a dumbass, in fact, that he forgot the golden rule of the spring-lock suits. And much like Gremlins, you just can't get them wet, dude. That's the one thing. And when you're under a roof with several holes in it during a rainstorm, it's gonna get wet, man. After he gets clamped down on in the suit, suffering a similar fate of his children, and is left to bleed out on the floor in the first location he claimed 5 lives inside of. Haunted by those same 5 lives and a horrifically poetic end to his own life. Alright, pause. Real quick. There's some context here that we're missing out on. So in these cutscenes, when we walk towards the back room to be taken apart, we are led there by a purple Freddy and a purple Bonnie. These shadow ghosts are heavily thought to be the spirits inside of the employees who were originally dressed in the Bonnie and Fredbear Springlock suits from the very first location that Henry and Afton owned together, who suffered a fate similar to Afton but were removed from the suits and to be left as ghosts. Okay, cool. Next. I wanted to clear that up. In the same game these cutscenes appear in, there are 2 endings. In the good ending, you play through the series of minigames where it's implied that you play as the puppet or Charlotte, doing your best to set the souls of these dead kids Afton murdered free. And we can tell by this ending minigame, Charlotte's successful, putting to rest other souls in the background, likely the souls from the toy animatronics, and potentially more we haven't seen. All of the victims from the first location, Fritz, Jeremy, Gabriel, Susie, and Cassidy, are all also set to rest by Charlotte, all of them besides one. Okay. Unpause. Afton is left inside of the golden Bonnie suit in the back room, while all the spirits drift off to the afterlife, for the most part. At a later date, Fazbear Entertainment came back to this location one last time to wall off the back room Afton is inside of, leaving him to rot for years and writhing in pain. The same kind of pain he left all of his victims in inside of their suits, which if you've been paying attention, you'll know what this can only mean. One big question most folks have at this point in the series, aside from what the fuck is going on anymore, is who are we playing as in these games? And the answer to that is Michael Afton. The same Michael Afton who threw Evan inside of Fredbear's mouth and wore his signature Foxy mask while doing it. And here's how that all started. Years ago, before Afton was trapped behind a wall, Michael asked his pops a seemingly simple question. Hey Pop, whatever happened to Elizabeth? You know, my sister who died at an uncomfortably young age with no prior health concerns. To which his dad William clapped back with, oh yeah, her, she never actually died. After your mother left, she took Elizabeth and they're under the house. Here's the keys. Go have a look. They're both down there. It'll be great. Dad, that's complete bullshit. Mom left because Elizabeth died. You wouldn't tell her why. Listen. Hey. Shush. Hey, last I checked, you're the one who killed your brother, okay? Now go downstairs and find your sister in my cellar. I have important business to get back to. So Michael, not knowing what would await him, went downstairs into his childhood home's basement, where we see the events of sister location take place. In it, we see Michael appearing to be a maintenance worker in this underground facility where he presses some buttons, does some on some random robots he's never seen before, not knowing fully what the hell's going on until he hears Baby's voice. And throughout the game, if you've played it, Baby speaks to Michael and progressively, over time, gains his trust. Somehow, Michael catches on to some of the things Baby tells him, and that his sister Elizabeth is inside of Baby, talking through her. However, much time has passed since Elizabeth has seen her brother, and she doesn't really recognize him. She mistakes Michael for their dad, who he apparently looks a lot like. So days go by and Michael continues to delve into the bunker beneath the house. and he eventually pieces together the truth about his father and decides that his reign of terror can no longer go on. He's the one to stop it. You know, with only one murder under his belt, Michael is probably the closest beacon of hope we have right now in comparison, I guess. Throughout the days, Michael enters the facility, the circus animatronics, either with their frighteningly advanced AI or potential human souls inside of them, they all start to devise their own plan to escape the underground. Too long they've been trapped beneath the ground, being tested on by William for remnant experiments, and they really want out. However, they can't just go above ground and just be walking robots hanging around and have heart problems. They too need a disguise. So with Michael being the only other person besides William to enter this deep into the bunker in all this time, they see him as fresh fucking meat. Each of the animatronics begin to take pieces of them apart, and they all mesh themselves together into a wad of wires, cables, and circuitry, and calling themselves Ennard. Once Baby gains enough trust from Michael, she brings him into the scooping room, the room with a big metal scoop designed to remove endoskeletons and inject remnant. Remember that one? Yeah, that one. And they kind of reverse engineer the scoop and then rip Michael's insides out of him, starting from his fat nuts up to his brain, leaving just a pile of skin and flesh behind. So Ennard scrambles and crinkles over to the skin on the floor at 75 miles per hour, and then they wrap themselves in Michael's skin.
What?
And finally, they can leave the underground facility using Michael as a new suit. Days go on by, and Michael's meat begins to go sour. He starts rotting and decomposing inside until Ennard's like, yo, this dude stank, and then they fuck off. But the scooper also injects remnant, allowing Michael to get right back up like nothing else ever happened. I fucking hate this series. So now, with Michael as a rotting zombie man bent on ending his father's reign, he applied for jobs at any and all Fazbear locations to try and intercept his father's wrongdoings. And to free any spirits within the animatronics he was too late to stop beforehand, eventually getting himself fired for tampering with the animatronics as well as smelling like rotting shit, making Michael often our protagonist for Night 7 of FNAF 2 and all of FNAF 1. Putting sister locations sometime after FNAF 4 but before FNAF 2. Ugh. From there, everything we see is the same. Jeremy Fitzgerald works at FNAF 2's location, is moved to the day shift after William kills the kids. Michael comes in a little too late on Night 7 to fill in for Jeremy when they're all pissed off at a guy who looks a lot like Michael, and then the day after, day shift guard Jeremy gets bit, the place closes. FNAF 1, Michael is our protagonist again. Evan tries to tell Michael that it's him inside of Golden Freddy. The spirits all hate Michael for looking like his dad. FNAF 1 place closes. William gets spring locked inside of the room and is walled off. We're right back where we left off. So this is probably a good time to go grab some celery and a cup of OJ, adjust your grip on your cock if you want to beat off or something, like be my guest right now. Just come back and finish the video. It'll be good for you. Completely up to you. This is your break. Okay. So, after William is trapped behind a wall in FNAF 1 location, many years go by. Word spreads around about the infamous Freddy Fazbear's Pizza was a place where kids died and people got bit, and there is some form of urban legend surrounding the place's IP. This leads to an unnamed company to capitalize. They opened Fazbear Frights, which is a horror attraction based entirely on the rumors and horrors around Freddy's Mosque. The owners deemed to make this the most authentic Freddy's horror experience and dig up old tapes for training purposes, alongside rummaging the FNAF 1 location, where they bring in the leftover parts of the animatronics William dismantled, a box full of parts from the toy animatronics in their second location, now free of the spirits thanks to Charlotte, as well as knocking down a wall and uncovering a yellow spring-locked bodysuit sitting back there. Little did they know inside that robot was a rotting body of a child-murdering psychopath bent on immortality, who, by unorthodox means, obtained exactly what he wanted. So Michael Afton is still kicking and trying to find everything he can to do that he can thwart his father, whom he doesn't know has been locked behind a wall for years and assumes to just be in hiding. When Michael sees an ad for Fazbear Fright's security guard, he figures, fuck it, it's the closest thing in years, let's see what's up. And upon his second night working there, and seeing that damn golden Bonnie Springlock suit and knowing its history, he and his dad finally get the reunion that Michael's been patiently waiting for so many years now.
I'm going to come.
Freddy Fazbear. Throughout the game, we see Michael hallucinate the animatronics he's only narrowly escaped in the previous locations he worked at as he tracks down his father in Fazbear Frights. Occasionally, we also see Charlotte, still inside of the puppet, and not a hallucination, roaming the halls along William Afton, opting out of being put to rest like all the others until she knows William is taken care of for good. And whenever Charlotte comes into close contact with Michael, she's unsure whether or not he's the real William Afton, since she knows that he should be trapped behind a wall in an animatronic spring bodysuit at this point, but Michael looks a lot like him, leaving her to simply stare at Michael, studying him with intimidation. William made a lot of enemies in his life. There just so happened to be 2 of them after him in this one location, and all 3 of them just so happen to be corpses. After 5 nights of Michael being pursued by his psychotic father, he decides that enough is enough, and the building of Fazbear Frights burns down to the ground by his hand. However, Michael pins the blame down on the rundown building's faulty wiring. So now, with Afton finally burnt to a crisp by his son, and each of the souls he claimed brought new life and set to rest by Charlotte, now would be a very good place for this series to end. Fucking psych, there's still so much more to this. To be fair, there are some loose ends that require tying. Where did Ennard alongside Elizabeth go after leaving Michael's body? Is Michael still a walking corpse? Doesn't it feel wrong to have Charlotte suffer the same fate of burning to the ground alongside William after all she did right? That is where Five Nights at Freddy's Pizzeria Simulator comes into play. After decades of pure radio silence, all of this grabs the attention of Henry Emily, William Afton's old business partner, who designed and built the original Springlock suits as well as the toy animatronics. Seeing his creations be used in this disgusting game to play God by William, Henry finally steps in and decides to put a stop to all of this bullshit. And this absolute madman creates the most clever ruse known to man. Henry regains the rights from Fazbear Entertainment. At this point, they're probably selling the IP for 15 bucks on Kijiji after being dragged this deep in cow shit for years, and he opens his very own brand new Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place. And once an establishment has a horror attraction based around it, you can kind of imagine the lack of customers a new legit location would rake in, considering FNAF 1 location closed due to this very reason. But Henry isn't interested in making money. Henry is simply trying to put all the pieces back together. He builds some new animatronics, keeping the same few characters, bringing back the shitty hippo and stuff. I guess he liked those designs a lot, I don't know. And he hires some new employees, and one of them, of course, being Michael Afton. Whether intentional or not, it's up for debate. The biggest rule Henry has set out for his workers to follow is, if you see any shitty old robots lying outside for no apparent reason, bring them inside. They're important. If you're cold, they're cold. Bring them in. And Michael does exactly as he's told by his new boss. And wouldn't you know it, but nothing but familiar faces. Oh, I hit my mug. And wouldn't you know it, nothing but familiar faces appear outside the door of the establishment. Most notably, a certain business partner of the owner who's been coming and going from Freddy's locations for a long ass time now. Yeah. William survived the fire, even though it's explicitly shown that he's in a burning building. Other noteworthy folks who waltzed into the pizza place is Ennard. Now with a new identity as Molten Freddy, who, between being ejected from Michael's asshole like a bad Chipotle, to this moment, decided Baby was a little cunt and kicked her from the house and moved on without her. Why exactly is hard to say. Maybe because she was the only human soul and they're all Vorbots? I don't know, who's to say? But it doesn't matter because Baby shows up too, covered in shit and looking like it too. Lastly, we have a bear named Lefty. He appears outside as well. And at a first glance, it doesn't seem all that important. It's just a bear with a missing eye. But upon closer inspection, you can see that Lefty was just an animatronic bear built by Henry to capture his daughter, Charlotte. The puppet that she possesses for so long is seen peeking from outside the bear. Now that all the pieces were in place, Henry decides to finally end this nightmare once and for all. After doing some research on Remnant himself and digging to find some of William's blueprints for the Scooper alongside his circus baby animatronics, he knows that Remnant can only be destroyed by applying great heat, which is exactly what Henry does. And the game ends with a speech from Henry telling everyone inside his final goodbyes to his daughter Charlotte, William's daughter Elizabeth, William himself, the twisted animatronics William created, and Michael Afton, who, as a byproduct, is also a victim of Remnant and needs to be put to rest as well. And Henry burns each of them inside of the building to finally set them all free in a horrifyingly bittersweet conclusion to their lives. And just as he promised Evan on his deathbed, he put them back together by bringing them all into one spot, although he wasn't made aware that his daughter put everyone back together before he did. And as the box-shaped pizzeria burns, he puts all of these cursed lives to a bitter end. That is everyone's life but William's. At this point, William is nothing. Springtrap has burnt twice now and has existed far longer than necessary. However, William's soul, his remnant, lives on. And that is all because of one young girl who will make sure William regrets ever killing her. One half of the souls possessing Golden Freddy alongside William's deceased son, who is now put to rest by Charlotte, Cassidy. At this point, Charlotte already put everyone's soul to rest, and Henry took care of the others. But when Charlotte set the souls of the 5 children to rest, Cassidy stayed behind willingly. The spirit behind this mask is Evan. He moved on. Cassidy stayed behind and used everything in her power to ensure William gets the wish he's been craving for forever. Immortality. But only on her terms. And this all leads us into Ultimate Custom Night, a game in which we set as many different animatronics as we want to come after us in what seems like an endless challenge mode. But what isn't so apparent is that this game is meant to put us in the eyes of William Afton himself, in his own personal hell, surrounded by the monsters he created getting attacked again and again and again. All of this being controlled by Cassidy herself, assuring Afton that killing her is the biggest mistake of his life. And ends the series off with exactly what we started with. The 2 Springlock suits from Fredbear's Family Diner, only now with a little bit more of a personal connection. And that is how Five Nights at Freddy's ends. To me, anyway. After this comes the VR game, then Security Breach, and those games just cross the fucking line and tell a completely different story than what is built on in these games. And the VR game goes out of its way to say, hey, all of these games that we built up until this point, they're all fake. They never existed. They're all within the lore. They're fake, but this is the real shit. To give you a brief summary, is that more years pass, and Fazbear Entertainment try and poke fun at their gruesome past by making a VR game based on the fake indie games a developer made, and reuse old hard drives from the old Freddy's location, and accidentally scan in a digital AI version of William Afton's consciousness into the VR game, and once you collect 10 tapes, he becomes real, and takes on the form of a digital golden bunny named Glitchtrap, takes over your body through the VR headset, and is making an army of Afton AI copies, and a beta tester named Vanessa gets body swapped with him, and dresses up in a rabbit named Vanny, and is a murderess like Afton, and then in Security Breach, Glamrock Freddy is supposedly Michael Afton's spirit inside, and Gregory is a robot version of Evan, and now Michael can prove himself by protecting him, and Vanny is resurrects Afton from being burnt and being in hell, and yeah, somehow it manages to get fucking worse, and I really don't see it getting any better. So for now, at least, along with Scott Cawthon stepping away from Five Nights at Freddy's, making Ultimate Custom Night being the last one that he really was the biggest hand in, I think the story with Five Nights at Freddy's ends with Ultimate Custom Night. Now go, play the games, watch a Let's Play with this newfound knowledge, and see what makes sense that didn't before. I don't really have a neat way of ending this 15-page long script, so just fuck off. I'm not proud of this. Here's a jump scare.